She laughed in my face at dinner with our friends and said loud enough for the entire table, "Ethan bores me to death." They all stared, waiting for me to break. They thought I'd shrink, apologize, beg for her attention. But instead, I smiled and made a decision that would flip her world upside down. Before I continue, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments how you would react if someone you love said you're boring. Let's rewind. My name is Ethan. Her name is Madison. We'd been married 9 years. A solid marriage, or so I thought. A comfortable house outside Denver. A good job I worked hard for. Weekends by the fireplace, planning trips we hadn't taken yet. I believed in steady love, the kind where you know your partner always has your back. But she started craving fireworks. Attention, applause, a stage, not a home. It began slowly, the phone always in her hand, notifications lighting up her face more than I ever could. Nights when she said she was meeting coworkers, returning late smelling like a bar. She'd scroll TikTok at the dinner table while I talked about my day, barely nodding, eyes glazed, like I was background noise. I tried laughing it off at first. Marriage goes through phases, right? But the distance didn't feel like a phase. It felt like a replacement point. One Tuesday night, I made her favorite, lasagna, garlic bread, the works. She didn't even sit down fully before lifting her phone, thumbs flying. I took a breath and asked, gently, "Mads, is everything okay with us?" She chuckled in that cruel, dismissive way, like I'd told a bad joke. "You're just dull lately, Ethan. I want to feel alive. With you, everything's predictable." Predictable. The word stung harder than anything before. I wasn't enough. I wasn't exciting enough for the woman I built a life for. I swallowed the hurt, kept my voice steady. "If I bore you," I said, "maybe we should talk about something we can do together." She waved her hand like swatting away a fly. "I don't want to fix anything right now. I just want to enjoy my life. Why can't you be fun?" Our friends invited us to a small dinner that weekend. Just 4 of us. Wine, music, candles on the patio. Perfect atmosphere for connection. I thought maybe she'd relax, maybe we'd laugh again. But she spent half the night texting under the table. When I touched her hand, she pulled away like my fingers were cold metal. Then, the moment, Ryan, my closest friend, asked if we were planning a trip this summer. Madison looked at him and shrugged, loudly enough to hush the table. "Depends if Ethan ever becomes interesting." I swear, he could make a concert feel like laundry day. Laughter, uncomfortable, low, but laughter. My heart didn't break, it froze. I stared at her, and she smirked like I was the punchline that I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I drained my glass and said the calmest thing I've ever said. "If I'm boring, don't wait up for me tonight." A hush fell. Madison blinked, confused by my lack of anger. "What's that supposed to mean?" I shrugged, stood up, thanked our friends for the evening, kissed her gently on the cheek. Not love, but goodbye to pretending. And I walked out. My car was already pointed toward a life I'd forgotten existed. I drove to a rooftop party my coworkers had begged me to attend for months. The kind I always said no to, choosing comfort over excitement. The second I arrived, people lit up. "Ethan, you made it." They handed me a drink, asked about my work, complimented my successes. They saw me, something my own wife hadn't done in a long time. Music pulsed through the starry air. Someone put a hand on my arm. A woman from HR named Nicole, laughing at my jokes, leaning in close like she actually cared what I said. Another coworker slapped my back, saying, "Man, you're the smartest guy in this company. You should come out more." There, above the city lights, I felt alive, not because of the attention, but because I remembered who I am when someone isn't busy tearing me down. My phone buzzed. 1 missed call. Then 3. Then 7. Then 21. Texts flooding in like panic through a broken dam. "Where are you? Who are you with? Why aren't you responding? Ethan, this isn't funny." The woman who said I bored her, suddenly terrified of being ignored. I smiled to myself and put the phone face down. Tonight wasn't about her. It was about breathing again. But somewhere inside, a shift had begun. Not loud, not cruel, just certain. The man she dismissed had finally walked off the stage she thought he was stuck on. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't miss her at all. I ignored every vibration of my phone as the night stretched on. Laughter, music, voices blending into a blur of energy I hadn't felt since before marriage. People actually wanted me there. I wasn't a chore or a disappointment or a man being graded on how entertaining he could be. I was just Ethan, and that was enough. I stood near the balcony rail, looking out at the glowing city when Nicole appeared beside me again. She had a bright smile and dark curly hair framing her face, the kind of warmth that made you feel seen. "You look lighter tonight," she said, studying me with curious eyes. "Like you finally let go of a weight." I gave a small laugh. "Maybe I did. About time," she replied, lightly elbowing my side. "You always seem trapped in your head at work. Tonight you look free." Free. I let that word sink into me. It tasted good. The rooftop lights flickered in the wind, people danced in clusters, and for once I wasn't the quiet one fading into the background. I was alive, moving, sharing stories I'd forgotten I had. Hours passed, and still, the phone buzzed like a swarm of desperate bees. I didn't touch it. Around 11:30, while I was talking with a few coworkers about a project I'd recently aced, my phone lit up again, this time with a different kind of alert. Home security camera. Motion detected. I froze. Someone was on my porch. I excused myself and stepped aside, finally turning the screen over. It was Madison. Her hair was messy, makeup streaked from either wind or tears, maybe both. She wasn't smiling now. She paced back and forth, arms wrapped around herself like the night air had suddenly turned to ice. She looked like a woman who'd finally realized she wasn't the sun after all, just someone who enjoyed the warmth of a man she assumed would never walk away. Did I let the video run while Nicole was suddenly at my side again? She saw the image over my shoulder. "Is everything all right?" I sighed quietly. "My wife." Nicole didn't say a word, just nodded, as if understanding more than I'd ever explained. I thanked her for the night, said a quick goodbye to the group, and slipped into the elevator. Even walking away, I felt the weight of her worried stare on my back. Someone worried about losing me after barely knowing me, while the woman who vowed forever only worried when her selfish comfort was threatened. The drive home was strangely calm. The city lights blurrier now, the music quieter. I thought about every time I canceled plans because she wanted to stay home. Every time she mocked something I liked. A movie, a hobby, a dream. Every time she called my stability boring. All those moments stacked like bricks in a wall between us. And now she was finally staring at that wall and realizing she was on the wrong side. When I pulled up to the house, Madison ran toward me as if I were a lifeboat in the middle of a storm. She grabbed my arm, breath shaky. "Ethan, please." Her voice cracked, desperation raw. "Please just come inside. I didn't know where you were. I didn't know if you were safe." I raised an eyebrow. "Safe? I thought I bored you." She closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. "I didn't mean that. I was angry. I was stupid. Please, let's just go inside and talk." Her fingers tightened around my sleeve, clinging like a child afraid of being left behind. I gently removed her hand. "You told me I make life predictable, so I decided to surprise you." She looked stunned, not used to me having the last word. "Ethan, please, I'm scared. I thought maybe you left for good." Her bottom lip trembled as she searched my eyes for comfort. But that version of me, the one who rushed to reassure her, didn't live here anymore. That I stepped past her toward the porch, and she followed tightly, heels clicking unevenly on the pavement. "Why didn't you answer me?" she demanded, voice turning sharp. "Why did you ignore my calls?" I turned, meeting her stare. Because for once, I didn't feel like explaining myself to someone who doesn't value me. She looked as if I'd knocked the wind out of her. She whispered, "I was wrong." But it wasn't a real apology. It wasn't remorse. It was fear. Fear of losing control, losing attention, losing the man she thought would always be waiting. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. She rushed after me, but I paused in the doorway, blocking her path. "Madison," I said quietly, the calm in my voice louder than any yell. "Boredom isn't caused by the person you're with. It's caused by taking someone's value for granted." She stared up at me, eyes wet, mascara carved down her cheeks in messy lines. "I see your value now," she whispered. "I see it. Please, just don't shut me out." That was the moment I realized something important. She didn't change because she wanted to be better. She changed because she was afraid to be alone. I held the door half open, half closed between us like a verdict still pending. "I'm not shutting you out," I said with a calmness that unsettled her even more. "But I'm not letting you drag me down either." Then I walked inside, leaving her on the porch, In the cold night she created with her own words. She called my name once more, a plea caught in her throat. But I didn't turn around, that I didn't lock the door behind me. I didn't slam it. I just let it close slowly, letting the silence finish the sentence she never expected to hear. I woke up the next morning to a strange sensation: peace. No rushing to check if Madison was angry. No worrying whether I'd failed some invisible test of entertainment for the day. Just a quiet morning, sunlight slipping through the blinds, and Max, our retriever, curled beside the bed like he always used to when things were good. I made coffee, breathing in the aroma like it was freedom in a cup. My phone was silent now, not because Madison stopped caring, but because I had turned off her notifications before falling asleep. I wasn't ready for any more demands disguised as concern that I sat at the kitchen counter, sipping my coffee slowly, when I heard soft footsteps behind me. Madison appeared in the doorway wearing one of my shirts, hair messy, eyes tired like she hadn't slept. She hesitated, as if walking any closer might cause something to break. "Good morning," she whispered, voice trembling with caution. I nodded. No smile. No greeting filled with warmth I didn't feel. Just acknowledgement. She tried to read my face, searching for hope, searching for the man she used to control so easily. She sat across from me, twisting her fingers nervously. "Ethan, about last night." I raised my hand, stopping her. "Don't rush into explanations you haven't thought through." Her eyes widened at my tone, calm but firm. She wasn't used to calmness with boundaries. "I'm not trying to argue," she said. "I'm trying to fix this." I studied her closely, not the surface, not the fear, but the motive. Fixing this, or fixing her comfort? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. This time a work reminder. I grabbed my keys and stood up. "I'm heading to the office." She blinked, confused by how easily I could walk away. "Can we talk tonight?" she asked. I shrugged softly. "We'll see." And I left her sitting there. In silence she had earned a tea. The office. Things felt different. People smiled bigger when they saw me, greeted me with a new kind of respect. Last night hadn't been a fluke. I mattered here. I wasn't boring to them. My boss, Mr. Turner, clapped a hand on my shoulder during a meeting. "You were a hit last night," he said with a grin. "We need to get you out of your shell more often." I chuckled, but inside, a quiet fire burned. The realization that I didn't lose my spark. I had just buried it under someone else's expectations. Around lunchtime, messages from Madison started again. "Are we okay? Please just tell me something. Ethan?" Then voicemail. Her voice small, shaking. "I'm scared. I don't know how to fix this. Just come home." I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because her panic was not yet clarity. It was just fear tugging at a safety net she thought would hold forever. When I arrived home that evening, Madison was already waiting in the living room. Candles lit. Dinner on the table. Steak cooked perfectly, just how I always made it. She rarely cooked for me. She stood up quickly when she saw me, hope flashing in her eyes. "I made your favorite," she said, voice too bright, too rehearsed. I removed my coat slowly, watching her carefully. "Why?" she faltered. "Because I want us to have a nice night together." She approached, trying to hold my hand. I stepped back calmly. "You think a dinner wipes away words you meant?" Her face twisted with hurt. "I didn't mean them." "You did," I replied. "You wanted me to feel smaller so you could feel bigger." She looked like I pushed her off balance without touching her. She pulled a shaky breath. "I thought if you chased after me, it would prove you still cared." I tilted my head. "Love isn't proven by chasing. It's proven by showing up." Tears welled in her eyes like she'd never thought of that before. We sat, and she forced herself to eat, chewing mechanically. The silence between us wasn't comfortable. It was reflective. She was finally listening, truly listening, to a silence that had become louder than any argument. Midway through dinner, her phone buzzed. She flinched, shutting it off immediately, sliding it away as though it were a sin. "I turned off notifications for everyone," she whispered. "I want to focus on you." But I remembered the many nights she never turned notifications off for me. After dinner, she followed me to the couch, sitting too close, trying too hard. "I miss us," she said softly. "I miss how steady you are, how safe I feel with you." I didn't respond right away. I stared ahead, letting her sit in the reality she created. Finally, I said one simple truth. "Safe isn't the same as boring." She covered her mouth, choking back a cry. "I never meant to hurt you. I was selfish. I thought you'd always be there no matter how I treated you." I met her eyes, really met them, and she froze at the person staring back. I was not the man she could manipulate anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't emotional. I was simply aware, fully aware of my worth. She reached for me, fingers brushing my sleeve. Ethan, please. I'm trying. I gently moved her hand away. Trying begins with admitting why you acted that way. And it wasn't my fault. She nodded, tears spilling freely. But pain alone isn't growth. Pain is only the doorway. She stayed quiet after that, not defeated, but stripped of excuses. Like a person seeing the mirror for the first time and not loving the reflection. She looked small, not because I made her feel that way, but because the pedestal she built for herself had finally crumbled. Later, when she asked if I would sleep beside her, I simply shook my head. I need space, I said, to remember who I am without being told I'm not enough. The shock on her face was real. She never imagined I would be the one needing distance. She always believed I was the one who needed her. She curled up alone in our bed. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, but no longer with doubt. No fear of losing her. Only clarity. If I had to lose myself to keep her, the price was too high. The night settled quiet and deep. Madison cried softly in the other room, not loud enough to control me with guilt. Just the sound of someone who finally understood she was no longer in charge of the story. I woke to the sound of soft knocking on the living room wall. Not loud, just enough to say she was awake and terrified of the silence. Madison peeked around the corner, eyes red and puffy. She wore the same shirt as yesterday, sleeves pulled down like she wanted to disappear inside it. Ethan, she whispered, can we talk? I sat up slowly, still wrapped in the blanket from the couch. The morning light hit her face in a way that made every insecurity visible. She looked like someone who'd finally realized the ground beneath her wasn't as solid as she believed. She approached with hesitant steps, clutching a mug of coffee she must have made for me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, she said, placing the mug on the table. But I can't lose you. Her voice cracked, raw with panic. I thought I needed excitement. But I didn't. I needed you. And I was too stupid to see that until last night. I studied her silently. Before all of this, those words would have melted every doubt. Now they hit differently. Too late, too reactive. Not change, but fear of change. Madison, I said calmly, you didn't just say something cruel. You believed it. You treated me like background music in your own movie. She closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. I know, she whispered, and I'd give anything to take it back. She reached for my hand again, slower this time, as if she finally understood that access to me wasn't guaranteed. Ethan, I was lost. I cared more about how the world saw me than how the person who loved me felt. I thought being admired made me valuable, but standing out there alone last night, I've never felt so small. Her voice shook as she grabbed tissues, wiping her face with trembling fingers. Please, tell me what to do. I'll do anything to fix this. I looked at her, really looked. Not through the lens of past promises, but through the reality of who she chose to be. You can't fix anything in a day, I said. Respect isn't a switch you flip. Trust doesn't regrow overnight. She sank onto the couch beside me, careful not to invade my space. Silence lingered for a moment, not angry silence, reflective. I want to earn you back, she said quietly. I want to be someone you're proud to be with. That part, I believed, not because she said it, but because I saw the terror of truth in her eyes. She finally understood something I'd always known. Love without respect is just dependency dressed up as romance. Hours passed. We cleaned the house together, doing something normal, something grounding. She cooked us lunch, checking every detail twice like it mattered. Because now, to her, it did. She asked me if I wanted to go out later, just a walk, nothing more, but I shook my head gently. Not yet, I said. I still need space. She respected it. For the first time in a long time, she respected a boundary as evening approached. Madison hovered near me again. Not desperate, just present. She looked nervous, like a person waiting to hear whether their future still existed. Ethan, she murmured, will you come home tonight? It was a sad question, because technically, I was home. But emotionally, I'd stepped far away from her that I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and walked toward the front door. She followed quietly, fear rising in her voice. Where are you going? I turned to face her, seeing everything she didn't say. Please don't leave me. Please don't show me what life looks like without you. Please don't let this lesson become permanent. You once told me I bore you, I said softly. But boredom happens when someone stops appreciating what's real. She nodded quickly as tears welled again. I know, I know. I didn't appreciate you. I forgot how lucky I was. I placed my hand on the doorknob, letting her feel the weight of this crossroads. Last night, I said, you got a taste of what it feels like when I'm not the safe option waiting at home. She swallowed hard, shaking. I hated it, she whispered. I hated every second of not knowing if you'd come back. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice. Maybe that fear will help you remember the value you overlooked. Madison's knees almost buckled as she grabbed the wall for support. Please, she said in a trembling whisper, just come home to me tonight. For a moment, the old me, the man desperate to soothe her fears, tried to surface. But I didn't reach for him. Instead, I made a choice that would define everything from this day forward. I'll be back when I'm ready, I said. Calm. Final. Not a threat. A boundary. Her tears fell freely now, the full reality finally settling over her shoulders. I stepped outside, letting the cool air fill my lungs. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I simply walked away, allowing the silence behind me to speak the truth she had ignored for far too long. Sometimes a person must stand alone in their own mistakes. To wake up, I headed down the driveway. I thought of all the years spent shrinking myself just to make her feel entertained. Those days were over. If she wanted excitement, she could look in the mirror and confront the chaos she created. I wasn't responsible for her happiness anymore, only my own that I didn't look back. And she didn't chase me this time. Because deep down, she finally understood that the man she once called boring had become someone she could lose, and that's when she realized. The quiet ones are the hardest to replace. If you want the next powerful story, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment below. Your support helps me bring you more real-life twists like this one.